Subscribe to our channel for more thrilling corporate tales and unexpected twists. I never thought my own secretary would betray me like this. It was a typical Monday morning, and I arrived at the office ready to tackle the week. But when I reached for my office door, it wouldn't budge. The lock had been changed overnight, and my key was useless. I stood there, dumbfounded, staring at the polished glass door with my name etched on it. My secretary, Clara, sat at her desk, avoiding eye contact, her fingers nervously tapping on the keyboard. I asked her what was going on, but she just mumbled something about new security protocols. The air felt thick with tension, and I knew something was off. I'd trusted Clara for years. She'd been my right hand, handling everything from schedules to sensitive documents. How could she do this? I knocked again, harder this time, but the door stayed shut. My own office, my sanctuary, was now a fortress against me. I felt a mix of anger and confusion boiling inside. Who authorized this? And why wasn't I informed? This wasn't just a lockout, it felt like a coup. I stormed down the hall to confront HR, my footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The office buzzed with whispers as colleagues peeked over cubicle walls. They knew something was up, but no one dared speak. HR's door was open, and I barged in, demanding answers. The manager, Greg, looked startled, his coffee cup frozen mid-sip. He stammered, saying he'd received an email from Clara about executive orders to secure my office. An email? I hadn't sent any such thing. Greg showed me the message, and sure enough, it was from Clara's account, but the wording felt off. Too formal, too cold. I asked to see the security logs, but Greg hesitated, claiming they were confidential. My blood boiled. I was the CEO, yet I was being treated like an outsider. I demanded a meeting with the board, but Greg said they were in a closed session. This was no coincidence. Someone was orchestrating this, and I needed to find out who. Back at Clara's desk, I tried to stay calm, but my voice betrayed my frustration. Clara, why wasn't I told about this? I asked, leaning over her desk. She avoided my gaze, shuffling papers nervously. It was for your safety, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Safety? From what? I pressed her, but she clammed up, saying she was just following orders. Whose orders? She wouldn't say. I noticed a new badge on her lanyard, different from the standard employee one. It had a sleek, black design with a logo I didn't recognize. My gut told me this was bigger than a simple misunderstanding. I glanced at my office door again, now noticing a faint red light blinking on the lock. High-tech security, not the usual system. Someone had gone to great lengths to keep me out. I needed answers, and I wasn't leaving without them. I decided to take matters into my own hands and headed to the IT department. If anyone could trace that email or the lock change, it was them. The IT manager, Sarah, was an old ally, always reliable in a pinch. But when I got to her office, it was empty, her desk cleared out, her computer gone. A junior tech said Sarah had been reassigned over the weekend. Reassigned? Since when? I demanded access to the server logs, but the tech nervously said only Clara had the new admin codes. Clara? My secretary? Since when did she have that kind of power? I felt the ground shifting beneath me. The company I'd built from scratch was slipping out of my control. I left IT, my mind racing. If Clara was calling the shots, who was pulling her strings? I needed to get to the boardroom. Fast. The boardroom was on the top floor, behind reinforced glass doors. I swiped my card, but it buzzed red, access denied. My own company, and I was locked out like a stranger. I pounded on the door, drawing stares from nearby employees. No one came to help. Through the glass, I saw shadows moving, figures in suits, deep in discussion. I recognized one of them, Richard, the chairman. He glanced my way but quickly turned back, ignoring me. My heart sank. Richard and I had clashed before, but I never thought he'd stoop to this. I called his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. The message was clear: I was being sidelined. But why? I'd led this company to record profits last quarter. This wasn't about performance, it was personal. I needed to find a way in, and I needed it now. I retreated to the cafeteria, the only place I could think without prying eyes. Sipping bad coffee, I pieced together the timeline. Clara's odd behavior started a week ago. Missed meetings, vague responses. Then there was the board's sudden emergency session, announced Friday night. I hadn't thought much of it then, but now it screamed conspiracy. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through emails, searching for clues. One caught my eye, a cryptic message from an unknown sender to Clara, dated last Thursday. It mentioned Phase 1 and clearing the path. My stomach churned. Was I the path? I forwarded the email to my personal account and deleted it from the company server. If they were playing dirty, I needed to be smarter. I had to get into that boardroom, no matter what. I remembered a service elevator near the back of the building, rarely used, but it went straight to the top floor. I slipped through the maintenance hall, avoiding security cameras. The elevator creaked as it climbed, the dim light flickering above me. My heart pounded. If I was caught, it'd look like I was sneaking around my own company. But I had no choice. When the doors opened, I stepped into the executive lounge, just outside the boardroom. The glass doors were still locked, but I could hear voices now. Heated, urgent. I pressed my ear to the glass. Richard was talking about restructuring and new leadership. My name came up, followed by laughter. My fists clenched. They were planning to oust me, and Clara was their inside man. I needed evidence, something to fight back with. I spotted a vent above the lounge, just wide enough to crawl through. It was risky, but I was desperate. I grabbed a chair, climbed up, and pried the vent open. Dust coated my suit as I squeezed inside, crawling toward the boardroom. The voices grew clearer. Richard was pitching a takeover by an outside firm, one I'd rejected months ago. They wanted my company, my legacy, and they'd turned Clara to make it happen. I pulled out my phone, hitting record. Every word they said was gold, proof of their betrayal. But then I heard Clara's voice, calm and confident, outlining security upgrades. She'd locked me out to keep me from finding their plans. My arms shook as I held myself in the vent. I had to get out before they noticed. Crawling back, I nearly dropped my phone when it buzzed, a text from Richard. "Meet me in my office. We need to talk." My heart raced. Had they seen me? I slid out of the vent, brushing off dust, and headed to Richard's office. The chairman's suite was massive, all glass and steel, with a view of the city skyline. Richard sat behind his desk, his face unreadable. "You've been locked out," he said, not a question. I nodded, waiting for the trap. But then he did something unexpected. He handed me a keycard. "Take my office," he said. "It's yours until we sort this out." I stared at him, stunned. Was this a trick? Or was Richard playing a deeper game? I took the card, my mind spinning with possibilities. Richard's office was a fortress, top-tier security, direct server access, everything I needed. I sat at his desk, the weight of the keycard heavy in my hand. Why would he give me this? Was he covering his tracks or genuinely trying to help? I logged into the system using his credentials, which, to my shock, worked. The server logs confirmed Clara's admin access. She'd overridden my permissions. But there was more: emails between her and the outside firm, detailing a hostile takeover. My company was being sold out from under me. I copied everything to a secure drive, my hands shaking. Clara had betrayed me, but Richard's move gave me a fighting chance. I locked the door, ready to plan my next move. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Sitting in Richard's office, I felt like a king in exile, surrounded by power but not my own. The view outside was stunning, but it couldn't distract me from the betrayal. Clara's emails revealed she'd been promised a VP role in the new firm. Greed had turned her against me, but I still didn't know why Richard helped. I dug deeper into the server, finding encrypted files labeled Project Ascent. Cracking them took hours, but what I found chilled me: a plan to replace me with a puppet CEO. The board was in on it, except, apparently, Richard. His name was absent from the documents, replaced by a codename, Patron. Was he the mastermind or an ally? I couldn't trust anyone, but I needed to act fast. The takeover vote was tomorrow. I had one night to turn this around. I called an old friend, Lisa, a corporate lawyer who owed me a favor. Over a secure line, I sent her the evidence, emails, plans, everything. She was stunned but promised to draft an injunction to stall the vote. "You need allies on the board," she said. I thought of Richard. If he was playing both sides, I could use that. I sent him a vague text, thanking him for the office and hinting I knew about Patron. His reply was instant: "Meet me at 8 p.m. Rooftop." The rooftop. It was private, but also isolated. My gut screamed trap, but I had no choice. I spent the day preparing, copying more files, and setting up a dead man's switch to leak the evidence if I didn't check in by midnight. I wasn't going down without a fight. At 8 p.m., the rooftop was eerily quiet, the city lights sprawling below. Richard was there, alone, leaning against the railing. He didn't turn when I approached, just gestured for me to stand beside him. "You're in deep," he said, his voice low. "They want you gone." I asked why he gave me his office. He sighed, admitting he'd opposed the takeover but was outvoted. "Clara's their pawn," he said. "But I'm not." I showed him a snippet of the Patron file, watching his face. He didn't flinch, just nodded. "That's not me," he said. "But I know who it is." He promised to reveal the codename's owner if I trusted him. Trust. After today. I told him to prove it. He handed me a USB drive, saying, "This will stop them." I pocketed it, wary but hopeful. Back in Richard's office, I plugged in the USB. It contained board meeting recordings, proof of their conspiracy. Richard's voice was there, arguing against the takeover, outvoted 7-2. He wasn't lying. But the codename Patron belonged to Clara's contact at the outside firm, a shadowy exec named Victor Kane. I'd met Kane once, a slick talker with a predatory smile. He'd wanted my company for years, and now he'd turned my secretary into his spy. The recordings also revealed Clara's role. She'd fed Kane our financials, contracts, everything. My anger surged, but I channeled it into strategy. Lisa's injunction was ready, but I needed more, a public move to expose them. I scheduled an all-hands meeting for tomorrow, just before the vote. The next morning, I walked into the all-hands meeting with the USB in my pocket. The room was packed, employees whispering, sensing the tension. Clara sat in the front row, her face pale. I started with pleasantries, then dropped the bomb. I played the recordings, letting the board's voices echo through the room. Gasps filled the air as Clara's name came up. I saw her shrink in her seat, eyes wide with panic. I laid out the takeover plan, naming Kane as the mastermind. The room erupted, anger, shock, loyalty to me. I glanced at Richard, who gave a subtle nod. The employees' outrage was my weapon. I called for a vote of no confidence in the board, and hands shot up instantly. Clara bolted for the door, but security stopped her. With the board's credibility shattered, I pushed Lisa's injunction through. The takeover vote was postponed, giving me time to rally support. I met with key shareholders, showing them the evidence. They were furious, promising to back me. Richard joined me, publicly denouncing the board's actions. His support turned the tide. Shareholders trusted him, and his office had given me the tools to fight back. But Clara was still a loose end. I confronted her in a holding room, her badge gone, her confidence shattered. "Why?" I asked. She broke down, admitting Kane had promised her millions. She'd locked me out to buy time for the vote. I felt pity, but no mercy. She'd made her choice. Security escorted her out. The next week was a whirlwind. The board resigned under pressure, and I appointed interim members loyal to me. Richard stayed on, his loyalty proven. I moved back into my office, the locks changed, the red light gone. But I kept Richard's keycard as a reminder: trust is fragile. I hired a new secretary, vetted thoroughly, and implemented stricter security protocols. The company stabilized, but the scars remained. I couldn't unsee Clara's betrayal or the board's greed. Kane's firm backed off, but I knew he'd try again someday. I set up a task force to monitor external threats, reporting directly to me. This company was mine, and I'd fight to keep it. Richard and I met weekly now, rebuilding trust. He admitted he'd suspected Clara for months but lacked proof. "Why give me your office?" I asked again. He smiled faintly. "Because you built this place. It's yours." His words stuck with me, a rare moment of sincerity in a cutthroat world. I dug into Project Ascent further, uncovering Kane's broader network. He wasn't just after my company, he was targeting others, using insiders like Clara. I shared the intel with other CEOs, forming an alliance against him. The game had changed, and I was no longer just playing defense. I was ready to strike back, smarter and stronger. The employees rallied behind me, their loyalty a lifeline. I launched an internal investigation to root out any other moles. Clara wasn't the only one Kane had approached. 2 junior execs confessed to passing him minor info. I fired them, but quietly, to avoid panic. The company's culture shifted, less naive, more vigilant. I gave a speech thanking everyone, promising transparency. They deserved to know their CEO had their back. Sales climbed as trust returned, and our stock soared. But I couldn't relax. Kane was still out there, and I'd made an enemy. I upgraded our cybersecurity, hired ethical hackers, and kept Lisa on retainer. This was war, and I was ready. Late one night, alone in my office, I found a hidden file on Clara's old computer. It was a draft email to Kane, never sent, apologizing for failing. She'd written about guilt, about betraying me. It didn't change what she'd done, but it humanized her. She wasn't evil, just weak. I deleted the file, letting it go. The past was done, but the future was mine to shape. I looked out at the city, my company's logo glowing on the skyline. This was my legacy, hard-won and fiercely protected. Richard's office had been a lifeline, but this office, my office, was home. I sat back, ready for whatever came next. The fight wasn't over, but I was ready. Months later, the company was stronger than ever, but I stayed vigilant. Kane's firm had gone quiet, but I knew better than to trust the silence. I hired a private investigator to track his moves, and reports came back of him circling other companies. My alliance with other CEOs grew, sharing intel to block his plays. Richard became my closest ally, his office swap a turning point in our trust. I upgraded our board with diverse voices, ensuring no single faction could dominate again. Clara's betrayal taught me to question loyalty, but also to value it. I rewarded employees with bonuses, reinforcing their faith in me. The locks on my office stayed simple, no blinking red lights. I wanted access, not barriers. The media caught wind of the takeover attempt, and I spun it to our advantage. A press release detailed our resilience, framing me as the CEO who fought back. Stock prices spiked, and competitors took notice. I gave interviews, careful not to name Kane but dropping enough hints to rattle him. My investigator reported he was scrambling, his investors pulling back. Good. Let him feel the pressure. I kept Richard's keycard on my desk, a reminder of unexpected allies. The boardroom, once a place of betrayal, was now a war room for strategy. We planned expansions, acquisitions, staying ahead of the game. My company wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Clara reached out once, a letter begging forgiveness. I read it, then shredded it. She'd made her bed. But her betrayal had sharpened me, forced me to evolve. I wasn't the same naive CEO who'd trusted blindly. I cross-checked every decision, every hire, every email. Richard noticed the change, joking I'd become paranoid. I laughed, but he wasn't wrong. Paranoia kept me alive in this game. I met with Lisa regularly, ensuring our legal defenses were ironclad. Kane's firm sent a merger proposal, laughably weak. I rejected it publicly, humiliating him. The alliance of CEOs cheered, and I felt a rare surge of pride. This was my fight, and I was winning. One evening, Richard invited me to the rooftop again. The city sparkled below, a testament to our survival. He handed me a glass of whiskey, toasting to loyalty. We talked about the future, new markets, new risks. He admitted he'd considered retiring during the takeover mess but stayed for me. I thanked him, realizing his office swap wasn't just strategy, it was faith. I doubted him, but he'd proven me wrong. We clinked glasses, the weight of the past lifting slightly. The company was mine again, but it was stronger with allies like him. I vowed to keep my circle tight, my eyes open. Kane wasn't done, but neither was I. The investigator's next report was a bombshell. Kane was facing internal audits, his firm crumbling under scrutiny. My public rejection had spooked his investors, and my alliance was leaking his shady deals to regulators. I didn't celebrate yet. Kane was a snake, and snakes strike when cornered. I doubled security, both digital and physical, and briefed the board. They were nervous but loyal, a far cry from the old guard. I moved key operations to a secure server, inaccessible to outsiders. Clara's old desk was empty, a reminder of betrayal's cost. I hired a new head of security, ex-military, no nonsense. My office felt like a bunker now, but it was mine. At a shareholder meeting, I presented our growth plan, backed by record profits. The room applauded, their trust in me ironclad. I mentioned the takeover attempt vaguely, framing it as a test we'd passed. Richard backed me up, his presence calming doubters. Afterward, a shareholder asked about Clara. I kept it brief. She made a choice and faced the consequences. The room nodded, satisfied. I didn't need to drag her name. Her absence spoke volumes. The meeting ended with a vote to expand into Asia, a bold move Kane's firm could only dream of. I left the stage, my team behind me, feeling unstoppable. This was my empire, and I defended it. Late nights became my norm, strategizing in my office's quiet. I found another of Clara's unsent emails, this one to me. It was a draft apology, written before she'd locked me out. She'd been scared, coerced by Kane's threats. It didn't excuse her, but it explained her. I saved it, not for her, but for me, a reminder that even traitors have their reasons. I shared it with Richard, who shrugged. People break under pressure, he said. You didn't. His words hit hard. I hadn't broken, and that's why I was still here. I poured us both a coffee, and we planned our next move against Kane. The fight wasn't over, but I was ready. Kane's firm filed for bankruptcy a month later, his empire in ashes. My investigator confirmed he'd fled the country, dodging regulators. I didn't chase him. His fall was enough. My alliance with other CEOs grew stronger, a network of trust in a cutthroat world. Richard and I launched a mentorship program for young execs, teaching them loyalty and grit. I spoke at industry events, my story of survival a cautionary tale. The media dubbed me the Unlocked CEO, a nickname I leaned into. My office door stayed open now, a symbol of transparency. Employees stopped by, sharing ideas, rebuilding our culture. The scars of betrayal faded, replaced by purpose. On the anniversary of the lockout, I held a company-wide celebration. We'd come through fire, stronger than ever. I stood on a stage, thanking everyone, especially Richard. His office swap had saved us, a selfless act in a selfish world. I gave him a symbolic key to my office, a gesture of trust. The crowd cheered, and I felt the weight of the past lift. Clara was a memory, Kane a defeated foe. My company was mine, not just in name but in spirit. I ended the event with a promise. No one would lock us out again. The applause was deafening, a reminder of what we'd built. I was home, and I was staying. That night, alone in my office, I looked at Richard's keycard, still on my desk. It wasn't just a card, it was a lifeline, a reminder that trust, when earned, can change everything. I'd rebuilt my company, my legacy, from the ashes of betrayal. Kane was gone, Clara a lesson, the board renewed. I leaned back, the city glowing outside. The fight had made me sharper, stronger, a better leader. I wasn't just the CEO, I was the guardian of this place. New challenges would come, but I was ready. My office, my company, my rules. No one would lock me out again. I smiled, ready for tomorrow. Thanks for joining this wild ride. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of corporate battles and triumphs.